Kakira. I visited there in late August, early September of 1985, and spent the afternoon at the Jewish cemetery. These are photographs I took at the time. This is either on the way or kind of at the road that enters into the cemetery. And spent the afternoon there. It's outside the port town of Corfu. Corfu is also the name of the island. And it's the further northwest of any Greek territory. It lies immediately to the south of Albania, which, if I recall, you can see off in the distance faintly. Italy is to the west across the Adriatic, too far to see. Ferries cross from Bar, Italy, bring tourists to and from. When I visited, I came by ferry from Dubrovnik in southwest Yugoslavia. This is 1985, so it was before the horrible genocidal wars which followed the disintegration of Yugoslavia, which was still intact when I was there, although it was post-Tito. But all the old hatreds and the genocide had yet to begun. During the World War II years, the Jewish communities of Greece and Yugoslavia suffered horribly. Greek Jews are geographically, linguistically, and in many ways culturally distinct and separate from the Jewish communities of Western and Eastern Europe. Corfu's Jews were arrested, taken by boat to the Greek mainland. They were deported from there in train cars all the way to southwest Poland and dumped at Auschwitz. And more men than women survived the death in the concentration camps. And those who survived returned to homes without their mothers, wives, girlfriends, daughters. A wrenching end to a rich and long history. There's another photo one I had framed many years ago, hanging up in my kitchen. When I was there in 1985, the cemetery was parched and dry, overgrown with weeds. Like its counterparts in Krakow and Warsaw and Poland, there were graves of recently deceased Jewish Holocaust survivors around the cemetery. You'll see these flowers and some kind of fabric thing here. They're from another view over there. And there. Former United Nations Secretary General and Austrian President Kurt Waldheim was a Nazi intelligence officer, quote unquote, in Yugoslavia and Greece. His work was responsible for the murders of thousands of Jews and of non-Jewish Greek and Yugoslavian partisans. And until his wartime activities were revealed against his wishes, he remained silent about his blood-stained history. Afterwards, he never expressed contrition or remorse. One among millions of Nazis involved in the murder of civilians, his story is a shining example of how a human being can become a monster. Shining is probably not the correct word. Become a monster and rise to a position of great power and prestige despite and after having been a war criminal. And while I was at the cemetery that afternoon, I did the drawing section that you see in the center here. It's kind of a roughly drawn. It was not like a kind of fine line slow. I was just trying to get the essence of 3 gravestones and some weeds there. And after I returned to Seattle, which was in December 1985, about 5 months later, I embellished the mat and I worked on the frame. I got the frame probably at a place like Salvation Army or Goodwill. I carved into it down here in Hebrew. The blue glass that I cut out a space for in the wood and embedded in the frame was picked up on a Corfu beach, as was this tree nut, which I glued onto a piece of wood that I glued on the exterior of the frame there. The mat is embellished with drawing with a metallic sticker, which was here, actually something of my late father's. A collaged on business card, which would have been this here. A part of a movie seat for the film Shoah, which I had seen in Seattle, I think in 1983. I don't remember where I got this Israeli sticker from. Because I hadn't yet been to Israel. We've got some Greek stamps there. This drawn from an image I saw on one of the gravestones. So the Hebrew card in the bottom center is etched onto a gravestone in the cemetery. On the stone is seen the image of a fist holding a knife, which brings us back over here. Probably a family crest or emblem. There were two brothers buried there by the surname, at least where this gravestone was with this image, of Mustaki. Same surname as the great Jewish singer in France who, as I understand it, was raised in Egypt of Greek Jewish parentage, Georges Moustaki. So the two brothers buried there by the name of Moustaki, one was involved in Zionist activities, the other a member of the local Jewish burial society. Both died before the Shoah, the Holocaust. The symbol of the two hands that we see on the bottom here, which appears in at least one other artwork of mine, one from the Under the Wings of God series, which I'm gonna, since it's right over here, I'll see if I can get over here. This is called No One's Came to Save Anna Plakir. And getting some reflected light from the neon in my loft space. But you see the hands over her head. So the symbol of the two hands is seen on Jewish gravestones throughout Europe and symbolizes the Hebrew letter Shin. The letter represents the first letter of the word Shaddai, which is a synonym usage for God. Jews buried in gravestones with this image are descendants of Kohanim, that is, members of the priestly class of ancient times. The word Alanavo, which I stamped here, at the upper left of that is the Polish word for void, as in null and void, which was stamped in my passport each time I left Poland in 1984 and 85. Well, I would have left 3 different times. I was in Poland twice in 85 and once in 84. Oizo, which I did in gold ink and watercolor, was drawn from the label from a bottle of ouzo I bought while there, at least I believe while there. And the camel at upper right, drawn from the cover of a can of shoe polish I bought at a Corfu store, and there's the actual cover of the shoe polish, which I mounted on the frame, and there's the ink replication of that. And there you have it, the Jewish cemetery Corfu in my collection, pending eventual acquisition by some public institution, I hope, perhaps benefacted by someone, to a Shoah Holocaust Education Museum and Center. There you have it. It is June 23rd, 2012. Akiva Kenny Segan here.